Welcome to the Occupational Safety Leadership Podcast, episode number 99. And in today's episode, we're going to continue talking about job hazard analysis, and we're going to go over a couple of practical examples. I've been trying to stress the let's take the things we talk about and put it into practice, as opposed to it's something we talk about in theory, because I really think that these are great tools that we can use. But like all things, the tool has to work for you. So we'll sit down, we'll kind of go over a couple of practical examples and all that good stuff then. Um, Please do everything you can if you think this is going to work to steal it, use it for yourself, all that good stuff. But again, it's got to be something that you can integrate with what you have, unless of course you're really starting with like nothing. And then it's pretty simple to come up with your own system. Many of us are inheriting a system that's already there, and the system can only take so much change. So I've done a great job of just talking at this point. So let's just dive right into it then. So in today's for the job hazard analysis, the practical is we're going to look at the 5x5 risk assessment matrix. We're going to use that as our template for this. Again, you can use the 3x3, the 4x4. You can make up your own. Whatever kind of works. But for me, this works great for me. So I'm not saying that this is the end all be all. It has to work for you. So let's just dive right in then. So as we look at our 5x5, I'm going to kind of speed up some just so I'm just not wasting everyone's time. We talked about this in previous episodes, but when we look at the likelihood and consequences, it goes from low to high. And if you think about a golf score, you want your golf score to be as low as you possibly can. And so when we look at the 5x5, it's really easy. We want it to be a likelihood of low, 1 as much as possible, consequences 1 as much as possible then, because in an ideal world, you're never going to 100% outlaw these things, but I think we can do a great job of minimizing. So let's look at the first one, and for this example, what we're going to use is a step-by-step approach for the job hazard analysis, and this is one that I do at many of the places that I go to work. We're going to use sulfuric acid in this example. So if we look at the step-by-step, the first thing we're going to do is don the PPE. You can get hurt by doing that pretty darn low, of course, So we'll look at a consequence of 1 and a rating of, likelihood of 1, 2. And so the rating is going to be a 1. We're going to take the sulfuric acid, move it from the storage to the chemical hood. So if you think about you're going to move a gallon-sized container, whether that be glass or plastic. Of course, plastic is a lot more forgiving than glass is. But whether you're going to move it from, the chemical storage to the hood, we now know that there's going to be more of a chance of likelihood because you're carrying the acid, you're walking with the acid, you're taking it to the hood, you're making sure the surface is clear, all that good stuff then. So not like this is hard, but again, we're adding in a little more chances of a likelihood and a consequence. So now if we do a 2 for the likelihood and a 2 for the consequences, we now have a 4 for the low. Let's talk about pouring the sulfuric acid into the beaker. Again, we have more of likelihood, more of the consequence then. So we're doing that now. We're going to perform the test and dispose of the acid in the acid drain on this one. So now we're then taking the sulfuric acid. The previous step was we were going to pour it into a beaker. So we're taking the sulfuric acid from the gallon jug, pouring it into a beaker. The next one is we perform the test and dispose it down the drain. So we then have a likelihood of 3, consequence of 3, which is now a 9 of a medium. Next, we're going to place empty acid bottle in the area, which is going to be an area where you wash out acid bottles before you dispose of them. So then we have a likelihood of 3 because now we have probably have acid on our gloves. Doesn't mean that we do, but we probably do. But the consequence is going to be a lot lower. So now we have a consequence of 6. So because it's empty. That doesn't mean that you can't spill it. Doesn't mean you can't break it. But you know your consequences are less because you now have a pretty empty bottle. We can never say empty because it hasn't been washed and pH'd, and all that good stuff then. So next, we then come with remove acid contaminated PPE. So this is where we actually find our highest consequence here because we know that we have it on our gloves. We know we have it on these places, and now we got to get these off of us without somehow having acid onto our hands or onto some other part of our body as we take